Hey everyone, welcome back. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. Life has been pretty hectic lately, but if you still stuck around, I really appreciate it. Today's video is going to be on repairing a ribbon cable for the Gameboy Micro. I've attempted repair before with the start and select ribbon cable. It did not go very well. The small vias you have to attach your wire to are just way too small to solder to. The solder just does not stick to the tiny vias. So on my first attempt, it was a complete dud. But someone had messaged me and asked if I was willing to do a repair. And I thought to myself, well, even though that first repair was a fail, I think I learned a good bit, and I would like to try to go ahead and take on the challenge again, because I had given it some thought and I had devised a plan to sort of attack the situation a bit differently. So instead of trying to directly solder to the vias, I decided to sand down the contact points so that there would be more space for the solder to adhere to. So right now I'm trying to get my solder onto the small pads. Since everything is so close together, ensuring that I don't bridge any pads is very difficult. So right here I just tap some solder onto the board very lightly. Trying to get solder onto the pads, basically pre-tinning the pads so when I come in with the wire, it should adhere pretty well. So here's a closer look. I have some solder on the pads there. I do recommend using a lot of flux if you do end up bridging some connections there. Flux will help keep the solder from sticking to itself. Right here I'm tinning the wire. This is enameled wire. I'm pretty sure I brought it up in my previous video. This is enamel wire that I got from some headphones that I got from Delta. As you can see, the red color is the enamel. And what I did earlier was I was melting the enamel off by submerging the wire in the hot solder. I just showed you that the tip of the wire was silver, so that means it's just solder on that wire now. And it is ready for me to attach to the small vias that I had already pre-tinned. Right there up in the corner, I'm trying to attach the wire. It's very difficult since these vias are so small. Looking back on it now, I realize I should have put the wire through the via. The wire barely fits through the via, but I had better luck later on in the video of just putting the wire through the via instead of soldering the wire on top of the via. But here's a look at that. I also apologize if the video quality is not so good. I'm not sure if I had stated. It's been a while since I made a video, so I don't remember exactly where I left off, but my phone had gotten stolen last November, and I lost a good bit of content, and I had to buy a new phone as soon as I could, and obviously it wasn't an expensive phone with a very nice camera. So this is what I have to work with right now. So here I have already soldered all the wires that go to the start and select. I'll see if I can pull up a little schematic for you guys for the video. Right here I sanded down the start and select so I can go ahead and get the wires ready to attach to the start and select board. Alright, in this case I put the wires through the vias. As you can see there, they go through it. So right here, I am going to I believe I'm going to use my soldering iron to melt the enamel off so I can attach some solder to the wire. I'm pulling some wire up so that I can get the solder on the wire. There you go. I keep the solder on the wire so that the solder will melt the enamel and adhere directly to the wire. As you can see, there's part of the wire that has solder still attached. Now I will pull the wire back down into the via so that the soldered portion will sit in between the layers of the board. I'll see if I can get a close-up of it. It's a bit hard to tell. I do this so that when I come in with my soldering iron, it should melt the solder along that section and hopefully adhere to the via. Once again, these vias are so close together, it's hard not to bridge any neighboring wires. Once again, flux is your friend. If you have any bridging, add some flux, and it should keep the soldering from sticking to itself. I apologize for the multiple clip breaks. Since I had moved, I wasn't really prepared for a recording, so I just have a whole bunch of small clips that I'm stitching together. Alright, here we have all the wires connected to the board. Right now I'm just removing the excess. Just some wiggling back and forth should remove the wire. You do have to be careful, you don't want to put too much strain on these wires. They are barely attached to the via since there's not much space for solder to attach to. So you have to be very careful when handling the wires. I know when I was pulling some of the wires, sometimes they would just break connection and pull through the via. So yeah, the attachment to this is not very strong at all. Here you can pause the video if you need to see which via connects to which via from the start and select board connect to the vias on the main motherboard. All in all, I would say it's a pretty clean job. A little messy there on the start and select, but I try my best. Alright, usually when people send me their micros, I try to do a power switch cleaning. These consoles are 20 years old, so it's most likely gonna need a power switch cleaning. As you can see, this one's pretty dirty. And here we have a clean power switch. There's the shielding for it. And the little metal, I would say, bracket piece that shorts the connection. Alright, I put a screen on. I put the USB-C port on. and I tested continuity between the start and select and all that. Everything is good. I went ahead and tested it. I'll show you guys in a second. I had to put the battery in. Alright, we got the battery. So after I had connected everything, cleaned the power switch as well. You turn it on, and there's no backlight. And if you take a look at the start and select, see if I can get it to focus. When I turn the switch on, no lights either. So that was a little weird. I thought I had broken the micro. I was like, uh-oh, did I do something? I messaged the seller. I was like, hey, I thought it was just the start and select. Like, were there any issues beforehand? And I guess it was some miscommunication, but apparently it was also this cable here, the flex cable there, that was really the issue. So that was unfortunate because I didn't plan on actually repairing that cable. I was going to repair this one because I had attempted this repair before. I was not successful, but I wanted to try again. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I'll repair your micro, no charge. I think I can do a better approach this time and actually get it done. So when I did finish this, I thought I was good. I plugged it in, no backlight, and it didn't turn on. So I was scratching my head for a minute. I messaged him. I was like, hey, were there any other issues? And he was like, yeah, there was never really a backlight to begin with. And then he was telling me how he was trying to connect. Because I was like, why are there so many scratch traces? Like, those were not traces I scratched. And if you see up there, that was not a scratch trace that I did either. So he had attempted a repair himself, which is a little bit unfortunate. It's not really fun to repair something that someone has already kind of been into and tried to do themselves. But I told him, due to the miscommunication, I'll still try to attempt to repair it, but that's going to be extremely difficult, in my opinion. I think it's mostly this side right here that isn't getting the connection. I think that crease right there is what's broken. I'm gonna have to test every single one of these pinouts, and if you can see there's quite a lot. I can't really count all of them, but there's that, and then there's a few other ones on this side here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that side, and I don't know if I can count that, but that looks like it's 12 or something, 15. I don't know. That's a whole lot. Seems like a lot of work. I'll see what I can do. I think I'm gonna attempt to try to sand this down to expose the copper contacts on the ribbon, and then test to this side. And then I'll use my actual working micro. Once I figure out what test points here are connected to the ribbon, I'll go over to my working micro and I'll check from this side to this side, and hopefully get all the connections. But it's definitely going to be a lot more work than what I had first anticipated. But wish me luck. Hopefully I can get something done and get this thing working again. Alright. It took me a lot longer to sand than I initially thought, but we have those copper traces exposed, so I will test for continuity on the trace to this side of the board, because I believe connections to this side are broken. And then after that, I'll sand this side and hopefully do the same, but those traces are insanely small. It'll be very difficult. These are a lot bigger. Wish me luck. I'll let you know. Alright, after having to sand down all those traces, I realized I needed more tools. I don't have all the tools necessary to do this project. So the first purchase I think I did was I got a microscope, because the traces on the underside of the micro were big enough for me to see with the bare eye and distinguish between them. But the front side, the small traces on the ribbon cable were just too small for me to differentiate between them. So I had been thinking about getting a microscope for the longest, and I finally had a reason to truly get one. So I bought this one off AliExpress. I didn't really buy it for the reviews, I just bought it more for aesthetic. I thought it looked the best compared to all the other ones. And I would say I'm pretty happy with it. I don't think it's the best. I've seen videos of better microscopes, but this one got the job done. So I started sanding the front ribbon cable here. And here's the setup. I got the microscope, but I didn't get all the other stuff for it. So I'm using a ring light that I usually use for my videos. And then I had to jerry rig a stand. Yeah, so that was my setup for the microscope. Using a cam link and OBS to view the microscope image. Alrighty, so I sanded down the rest of the cable. As you can see, all the copper traces exposed right there. And then I realized that a lot of the traces were not connected. So even though I was able to put my probe on the trace on the wire, I wasn't getting any feedback from the main board or the D-pad board. So I had to sand down another trace from a different micro I got that was completely destroyed. So right here I'm prepping the D-pad for soldering. I'm having to sand down the, I think it's called the silk screen. I can't really remember what the top layer of a PCB is, but I have to sand it down to expose more wiring. This is for the D-pad button right there. I think it's SW3. It didn't have a via to solder to, so I had to sand down the trace there. So here's the D-pad. It's ready for me to start soldering. And I have also sanded the points on the motherboard where they connect to. So everything's been sanded and everything is prepped and ready to start soldering. This is where the real pain in the butt begins. Because like I said, these vias are just impossibly small. Okay, sorry I'm not able to get footage of me doing the soldering, but it's just too hard right now for my setup. So this is what it looks like after all connections have been made. At this point, I'm hoping and praying that everything is properly connected with continuity between connections. Right here is my very first time plugging in the screen to see if everything was connected properly. Alright, so we put in the battery and we're ready to turn on the power. Okay, first attempt, and the screen has no backlight. I'm not getting anything. But I do have LEDs working on the start and select board, so that is a good sign, I suppose. At least the start and select is properly wired, but I'm not getting any backlight. So I assumed all my connections were good because I did a really good job soldering and a really good job of checking to make sure everything was connected. Right here is a better shot of there not being a backlight. I did some probing and I found that there was a continuity failure. So right here, when I touch the probe to these 2 points, I get continuity and the backlight comes on. As you can see right there. Alright everyone, just about wrapping it up. Let's see, the screen does not have a backlight at the moment. I had to attach the final cable. There's a pad, let's see. There's a pad in this little cluster here that I need to attach to, I think, a capacitor. Because there's no continuity for some reason, but after that I've already checked the up down button and the start and select. The lights light up when I turn it on. I think everything's good, So I'll have to make these wires look pretty and then hopefully put it back together perfectly so that no of the very fragile connections break. That's the plan, and I hope I can get it together because this has been a really long project and it wasn't something I was expecting to have done, but I'm glad I did it because I've been meaning to map these ribbon cables. Alright, wish me luck. Okay, here is the tiny repair, if you can see it right there. That small little wire is what fixes the backlight on the screen. Unfortunately, his screen is a little damaged. I'm gonna see if I can take it apart and fix it, but after that I gotta arrange these wires, maybe do a little cleanup, and fit this thing back in the micro. Alright, this is the best I could do. Main point is to try to clear up that area where the pad's gonna be. Unfortunately, I didn't make the wire long enough, so I'm not able to route around it. So I'm going to go right through it, unfortunately. It's a bit messy, but hopefully it'll work. Alright everyone, I have finally put the disastrous Gameboy Micro back together. Although it's not perfect, it does have a few issues. One that I was able to foresee, but the other not necessarily. So this is it right now. It's charging, USB-C charger. As you can see, the lights work. Originally the ribbon cable for the start and select didn't work, so lights work. The blue lights work, and then you'll see in a second that the red lights will work. So I'm gonna turn the system on. Speaker works. Red lights work. And I'm about to put a game in so we can see how the buttons work. This is just a knockoff Pokemon Sapphire. Gonna pop it in. Reads the game. I'm not doing an extensive playthrough of the game to see if everything works, so there could be issues in the future, but I'm not sure. The flickering is probably due to the screen, as you can see earlier. Let me show you. There is a little bit of water damage to the screen there. So I assume the flickering on the screen at the top there is due to the screen, not necessarily the wiring and anything like that. So start button works. Up and down work. Left and right work. And this is all the D-pad. This is everything I had to connect because the D-pad ribbon cable was also not working. Let's see. We have start. That works. Press B. B works. I'm not able to test L and R. I need to try something with a fire red and leave green real quick. Let's see. Alright, bootleg fire red game. We're gonna pop it in. It's been storming over here non-stop. Alright, pop it in, turn it on. We got the game going. Reads fire red, that's good. Alright. Left and right work. Sorry, I'm going through this. Let me turn down the volume actually. We'll see that the volume works. Alright, volume works fine. I'm going to show you that when I make the name, you'll see at the start, the select button works. Alright, so if I press start, it'll highlight the OK button. If I press select, it should change things to lowercase, but as I'm pressing select, nothing happens. So what I believe happened was when I was soldering the wires to the start and select board, all the flux and the heat caused the little surface mount pad, the tactile switch, to just fall apart, because those tactile switches can be sensitive to heat sometimes. But yep, so start and select, just start works. The lights work, the blue lights, the red lights, the start button works. I'm pretty sure I wired the select properly. I checked continuity and everything. But as you can see, select does not work, which I don't think is a huge deal because I don't think any game truly requires select button. I know with Pokemon you can press select to get the bike immediately to open, but obviously you can go into your bag and press the bike. But let me see. Alright. So I'm going to show you how when I change the brightness, it only has 2 levels of brightness. All the way dim or all the way bright. And what's weird also is that if I press the, so you have to hold the L trigger, and then if I press the down it becomes brighter, but if I press the up it becomes dim. So it's reversed. I don't know how that happened. I think it has to do with the wire that I had, the jumper wire that I had soldered in. I'm not necessarily sure what happened, but the customer said he's fine with it. The only reason why I'm not going back to fix these issues are because putting the micro back together with all those jumper wires, it's kind of like a one-time thing, really. Because if I started taking this thing apart and trying to fix wires, I feel like a lot of those connections would just come apart, and I'd have to redo everything all again. I don't have the time for that, actually. This project has taken me months to finish because I recently moved into an apartment and it has been insanely hectic for the past couple months, and I have luckily the customer has been extremely patient with me trying to get this done. Originally I thought it was just a start and select issue, and I had tried or attempted a start and select ribbon cable repair, so I told him, I was like, hey, I could try to get this repaired for you. I've attempted this repair before, but I think this time I can get it down correctly. So after he sent it to me, I did the repair within a week, and when I turned on the system I saw that the micro was no longer working, and I was like, what's the matter with it? And he was like, oh, it's the start select and the D-pad ribbon cable that were both ruined. And I guess it was miscommunication because I thought it was just start and select. So I had to order new tools. I had to get these little tweezers here, like super precise precision tweezers. I had to order what else did I have to order? I had to order these super precise probes, if I can pull it up, electric probes here. I had to order these so I could probe the teeny tiny vias and the teeny tiny pieces of the small traces on the ribbon cable. And then I also had to order a microscope so I could see the ribbons. And everything just took so much time, but the customer says he's happy with the state of the micro right now, so I'm happy to finally complete this project. Although it's not perfect, it met his standards, it meets my standards, and I assume the micro wasn't in the best. I mean, the shell's pretty good condition, but it came to me missing about, I would say, 50% of the screws. Honestly, like 60% of the screws it was missing. So personally, this probably wasn't the best condition micro. I have a USB-C in there. And as you saw, the screen had water damage. So I think for a micro that you don't mind just bringing around, getting scratched up and whatnot, and having it on your daily, I think this is a pretty good case. I did manage to save this micro. Originally, it was nothing was working. The D-pad wasn't working. I can't necessarily remember everything else. The backlight on the screen wasn't working, but now we got everything but the select, and the brightness is kind of finicky, but I think it's pretty good, to say the least. It's doable, you can work with it, and I'm happy with it. Personally, this project, I only continued on it because I had further plans on recreating boards for the micro. I don't think I would have completed this project if I didn't already had plans to try to map the entire schematics for the Gameboy Micro. Personally, rewiring those ribbons, unfortunately for me, on that D-pad ribbon cable, every single trace was not connected. I was trying to, I had sanded down the ribbon cable. I had checked each trace, and I was not getting any continuity between the D-pad board and the motherboard. So luckily, I had another micro that was sent to me. That other micro was a complete goner. It had insane water damage. You could see underneath the I want to say the silk screen, you could see the extent of the damage. The copper underneath was completely eaten away. So I had, and that was mostly on this side, towards this side. So I had sanded down the ribbon cable on that side, and I was able to check continuity using that board. And luckily that board had most of its continuity with the D-pad. This one didn't, so I had to rewire every single wire. It's about 15 wires. If you're in that situation, I would highly recommend don't necessarily waste your time. Although there's no other alternative, I will try to make boards as soon as I can, but honestly it's going to be a very long project. It's going to take a lot of time, and it's probably going to be very expensive. These boards are 0.4 millimeters. Ordering a 0.4 millimeter board is, I think, expensive. Last time I saw, I don't remember, but hopefully it's something I can do. If it is, then I would highly recommend just waiting until me or someone else gets a board out, because rewiring, it's just, I don't think it's a good alternative. Now, if it's like maybe 2 or 3 wires that are not making continuity, then that's a different story. Like 2 wires to jump across, that's nothing. But if you're in this situation where the entire D-pad is severed away, yeah, I'd probably wait, put it off. Oh yeah, I did want to see, here's a sneak peek of another project I've been working on. I'm gonna test to see if the peripheral will work. So here, I'm gonna plug this in. Alright, there we go. Gonna plug in a wireless adapter. And it works. Perfect. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I'm so happy to be done with this project, and I know it's been a while since I made a video, but if you're still sticking around, I appreciate it. Have a good day.